All right, everyone, we have another defection from the Democratic Party. It's funny because I hear that the Republicans are in total disarray. Trump is flailing behind the scenes. He's throwing plates at people's heads. It's almost like they're projecting a little bit, because that sounds more like Elizabeth Warren or Hillary Clinton behavior. And he's splashing ketchup on the walls and all these things, and the GOP is melting down. And there are, admittedly, a bunch of former Bush and Romney officials and McCain officials, including the Cheneys, that have endorsed Kamala Harris. It's basically like the worst of the party has been bled out at this point. You squeeze the steak, and there goes all the juices. Unfortunately, this time the juices are toxic, so the steak is probably improved thereby. That is true. But mostly it's high-profile Democrats leaving the Democratic Party and registering as Republicans. Gloria Romero, you may have heard of her actually. I believe she was the first female, actually, to lead the state Senate, if I remember correctly, in California. She's a fairly big politician, fairly big political figure. She's decided to defect. She was a Democrat, and she said, in her own words, enough is enough. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm registering Republican. Now, this doesn't necessitate that, ideologically speaking, she gives a full-throated endorsement to Donald Trump, or to any other Republican, by the way. We've got to keep that in mind. But when you have a relatively high-profile state official from a very blue state, California is one of the bluest. I think Vermont technically is the bluest now. Hawaii, I think, is second. I mean, if you don't count D.C. Then Maryland, and then California. I think that's the order in which it goes. California is a very blue state. If you are a Democrat there, then you're in the majority. It's sort of like if you're a Democrat here in Vermont, you're in the majority. Sort of like being a Republican in Wyoming or Texas or someplace like that. But she has defected to the Republican Party. Now, I don't play partisan politics. I don't care about the Republican or Democratic parties in any way, shape, or form. I do analysis. I'm not a member of any party. I'm not a conservative or a liberal. I'm a classical liberal, I suppose you could label me, but that doesn't have much in common with the modern-day Democratic Party. They've gone the id pol route. They decided to join the dark side. They're the Sith now. And I'm still a Jedi, I suppose. But this is still significant. It's going to be played up in the media. I mean, to the extent that they report on it at all. Hey, here's this longtime former relatively powerful Democrat from a blue state. She's saying that the Democratic Party has gone nuts, basically. And so she's decided to join the Trump train. There was one article, it was by a left-wing media outlet, of course. It's like, she goes full-throated MAGA. And it's like, okay, she's praising Trump because, I mean, the alternative is a psychopath. And this is what I feel, too. My natural home is not in the Republican Party. People need to realize this. I mean, it's some hundreds of thousands of you who have watched me. You've only seen me since the 2016 election and probably think like I'm a Republican or a conservative or something. I'm not. The Republican Party is not my natural home. My natural home would be more likely to be in some elements of the Democratic Party, but they've gone in fucking sane. It's not the party of JFK anymore. It's the party of idpol, communism, anti-gunnery, more taxes, tax on free expression and things like that. I can understand why somebody from the Democratic Party at some point they would snap and they'd say, I can't do this anymore. This is sort of like with the Republican Party maybe 20 years ago. It's like the Republicans had stood for generally a bit lower taxes. We're not going to attack the guns, the expression stuff. Okay, that's fine. Then Bush comes along, basically, and they become the party of, hey, let's kill them all. Let's wage war, slaughter your kids. Hey, I'm going to give corporations lots of bailouts, but I'm not going to give you jack shit. Trump came along and reformed the GOP. His populistic proposals were generally acceptable. Actually give a damn about the border. Don't just talk about it like, every other politician does. Do something about it. Instead of talk, action. Well, that works. I support that. Hey, we're going to actually lower taxes. We're actually going to be the grand old party, the government of the people, or whatever you want to acronym it as. We're going to give tax relief to the middle class and the working class. We're not just going to simply shower corporations with money I know that trickle-down was never actually a thing, but, to some extent, the Republicans generally stood for corporatism. Look at Bush, for example, with the so-called stimulus checks, which made no difference. Trump has changed that. That's good. Hey, instead of simply waging endless war, we could try to leave other people alone. Have a beefy military, curb stomp them into the goddamn ground if they fuck with us, but if they're not fucking with us, we'll look for diplomatic means or an economic solution or something. These are good ideas. This is the way that government is supposed to work. Diplomacy before war, tax cuts generally across the board because we've got far too many of them, deregulate what you don't need, slice the pork. These are things that are bipartisan, by the way. They're not even partisan issues. So I congratulate Gloria Romero for joining the Jedis, basically, of the current era. Now, there will come a time, assuming that I live long enough, that I expect that the Republicans will eventually lapse back into bullshit. Maybe the Democrats will rise up in the stead, and they will be the good party, so to speak. It's entirely possible. Political paradigm shift rapidly. Just look at the electoral map morph that I did many years ago. That only goes up through, I think, the 2012 election, unfortunately. Should probably do a new one. But right now, all things considered, Donald Trump isn't even a lesser of two evils. He's a good candidate. He's got good proposals. The Republican Party, by and large, has reformed. All of the shitty Republicans, the Romneys, the Cheneys, etc., they're fleeing the party. They're supporting Kamala Harris. What more do you possibly want? All of the dross, all of the neocon losers are leaving the party. Well, I would say that probably improves the GOP a little bit. Yeah, I mean, look, Democratic Party's convention, what do you have? You have a bunch of people making boring speeches. Go over to the GOP's convention in Milwaukee. What do you have? You have Hulk Hogan rambling and ripping his shirt off. Again, what more could I possibly ask for? I'm not an ingrained Republican. I'm never going to join the party. I've donated to the Trump campaign. I donated to Herschel Walker's campaign. That was actually my first political contribution. Because I thought that one was important. Then the GOP decided to throw it, of course, so I wasted my time. Romero is a fairly heavy-hitting figure, maybe not in national politics, but locally speaking, would be someone who's actually of matter. And so it matters that she has decided to say, you know what, the Democratic Party right now, it doesn't really represent the interests that I want to represent. Like, hey, maybe we shouldn't start World War III. Maybe we shouldn't tax the business industry so much that, it collapses and the economy goes into a depression. Maybe we want somebody in office who's actually capable of formulating a sentence, because Kamala Harris seems to have trouble doing that anytime that she talks to people. So I congratulate her. Good choice. That's about all. Peace out.